This week on Full Circle Florida, the party of one, Republicans holding a supermajority in Tallahassee. And this week, one Democrat lawmaker from Tampa may have figured out a loophole, switch political parties and become a Republican. Will more people follow her lead? Should there even be Democrats and Republicans at the state level? Do voters really care about the party affiliation or just getting things done? We'll debate, we'll discuss. Also, the fall of Syria, Bashar al-Assad out of power. Who will fill the vacuum? What does it mean for the Middle East, the United States, and the incoming Trump administration? My deep conversation this week with retired Major General Bob Dees. And the Trump transition, Hegseth hanging on, Wray stepping down. What will happen to the FBI when Trump takes power? All right, let's get into it. Welcome here to Full Circle Florida, everyone. She is the publisher of Southeast Politics, Janelle Irwin-Taylor, back with us here this week. And of course, my partner in politics, the distinguished USF political science professor, Dr. Susan MacManus. All right, for what is typically a slow month, a lot to talk about in December. So State Representative Susan Valdes, she switched parties this week from Republican, or rather from Democrat to Republican. I can't even keep up anymore. She was re-elected as a Democrat. She's changing her affiliation to Republican. She said she didn't want to be ignored and she didn't want her constituents to be ignored because Republicans hold this supermajority at the state level. Is she onto something? Should more Democrats maybe think about doing this to have a seat at the table in Tallahassee?
I mean, no, absolutely not. First of all, I think it's important to note that she did this right after she lost an election to chair the Hillsborough County Democratic Party, right? So the whole I feel left out, maybe, but there was also this other thing, and it seems a little like a grudge. So there's that. Okay. But then there's also, you know, people have different ideologies, and you can call yourself a Republican all day long, but if you vote with Democrats, you're going to get labeled a rhino, and it's not going to work out so well for you. So the question, I think, is not about does she have the right idea or the wrong idea. It's, you know, is this going to matter? Is she going to truly caucus with the Republicans and be a Republican, or is she going to be a Republican in name only?
Well, I guess we'll wait and see, but maybe not. She probably won't, to your point, the rhino thing. But what if more people do this?
She has a reason for doing it. She's termed out in 2 years. They're changing the whole budgetary system. And you have a new Speaker of the House, and if she wants to truly try to get something back home before she leaves, she's now made it easier because the Republicans are looking at her like a big star in their crown.
I mean, there are two models. There's the Valdes model, which I guess is if you can't beat them, join them. And then there's the Pizzo model, which is let's go toward the middle and try to reach a point of compromise. But if you're a Democrat at the state level, this is a tough position to be in, right? Right now. I mean, you really don't have any say in anything.
I think people tend to forget that the vast majority of legislation that is debated during legislative sessions is not controversial. We only hear about the controversial stuff.
Does that mean it's not political?
Well, I mean, it's politics. It's all political. It's just not controversial. And there is a difference.
Why have political parties in Tallahassee? Why do we need them?
Because there is fundamentally a difference in strategy on how you get things accomplished. And traditionally, it's been about economic things, you know, how we tax or don't tax and things like that. It's gotten a little bit more controversial in recent years in the Trump era because of all of these kind of woke issues. But the vast majority of things that you see in Tallahassee is not in that. So Democrats still can get things done if they're not controversial.
Do you think voters care about whether there's a D or R next to somebody or whether they just get things done? They just want roads that work and schools that are staffed and practical stuff.
Well, if you look at the number of people who are now registering as no party affiliation, that tells you a lot because the number keeps going up. They are specifically focused on issues more than party. And it tends to be the younger demographic, which is precisely the demographic that Democrats didn't reach in this presidential election.
Last week, Ron DeSantis was being floated as a backup plan for Pete Hegseth, who appears to still be hanging on to head up the Pentagon. What happened this week? Do you think DeSantis is still in there, or Trump seems to be putting his support behind Pete Hegseth?
There's a lot of pressure coming from the grassroots. Veteran groups are running ads telling senators who are on the edge that they better vote for Hegseth when it comes to the Senate confirmation. So a lot of pressure is coming from people that are allies of Trump. It's well known, but we shall see.
What I find fascinating about this whole thing is he comes with so much baggage. It's all out there in the open, the drinking, the allegations of sexual misconduct. So, to really dig in on this, I think it's a testament to sort of how stubborn Trump can be, right? Like he said, this is going to be my guy, and no amount of evidence presented to him seems to be changing his mind. So I don't see DeSantis gaining traction at this point.
DeSantis has none of that baggage, and you could argue he's more qualified. Well, I want to talk about this. These drones that are flying over New Jersey. Congressman Jeff Van Drew, that's got a lot of coverage this week, claimed that they came from a mothership that Iran launched, and it was parked off the East Coast. Sounds wild, but even wilder, we don't have any answers about what these things are. What do you make of this?
I guarantee you that's what going through people's minds is, this is ridiculous. Our government is not working, our security's at risk, and if they can't tell us anything about it, then we have to assume it's the government spying on people. That is the mindset of a lot of Americans. They're very upset by it.
Tell us something, right?
And from a communications perspective, because that's one of my shticks.
Right.
At the very least, the Biden administration and defense officials should be communicating better to the public to assuage some of those concerns. And they are not doing that, which makes it even more troubling. So I think that they've got a PR crisis on their hands.
All right, I got to wrap, but we got more to talk about. Still more to come next here on Full Circle Florida. The postcard from D.C., Hegseth hanging on, Ray stepping down. Karen Travers joins me next.